Okay, let's dive in. Today we're exploring Aiden Wilson Tozer, a really significant voice from the 20th century within American evangelicalism,
Hmm.
known for, well, both beautiful writing and some pretty sharp critiques.
And what's immediately striking right out of the gate is the education thing.
Yeah.
This man whose books are, still standard reading in many circles, he only finished seventh grade. His depth wasn't academic in the usual sense.
Right, it came from somewhere
It
else.
was clearly driven by this intense, personal, spiritual pursuit.
And that's really the core of what we want to unpack today. His almost relentless call for personal holiness, for knowing God intimately.
Not just knowing about God.
Exactly. His most famous book, The Pursuit of God, it really hammers this home, valuing that deep spiritual connection over, say, just stacking up theological facts.
What's fascinating is that Tozer really saw his work as, well, a kind of restoration project.
Yeah.
He felt that Christianity, even by the mid-20th century, had sort of lost its grip on God's transcendence. The majesty, the holiness, the sheer awe. He wanted that back at the center.
That makes sense. And he had that quote, didn't he? Something about our thoughts about God.
Oh, yeah, the big one. What comes into our minds when we think about God is the most important thing about us.
Powerful. Basically, if your concept of God is small or trivial, your life, your spirituality, it's going to reflect that.
Precisely. And holding that view, well, it immediately put him at odds with a lot of the prevailing trends.
Because he was pushing against the mainstream.
He was absolutely pushing against what he saw as a shallow, mile wide and an inch deep kind of Christianity. He felt the church was becoming too comfortable, maybe too focused on attracting numbers rather than fostering real transformation.
Okay, but, I mean, calling out the church so directly, accusing it of being shallow, wasn't there a risk of just pushing people away? Did some find him, unnecessarily harsh?
I think he'd say the stakes were too high not to be harsh, or at least direct.
Like that comment about churches becoming theaters.
Exactly. He said churches had become theaters and pastors were like performers. And then the zinger, the church that can't worship must be entertained.
Wow.
Yeah. It was a stark warning. He saw it as trading truth for, well, popularity or entertainment value.
And he didn't stop there, right? He went after easy believism, too.
Absolutely. He heavily criticized any version of the gospel that didn't demand repentance, didn't demand change. And tied into that was his critique of churches chasing relevance.
Ah, the relevance trap.
Right. His diagnosis was that prioritizing being culturally relevant often led to compromising on holiness. He warned that worship stops being worship when it reflects the culture around us more than the Christ within us.
Oof, that hits hard even today.
It does. He saw that desire for cultural acceptance as a serious spiritual weakness, a dangerous compromise.
What gives all this critique so much weight, though, is looking at the man himself. He wasn't just talking the talk.
Not at all. He actively refused any kind of celebrity status. This is someone who famously traveled by bus, consistently turned down raises.
Gave money away, lived incredibly simply.
Exactly. That simplicity wasn't just a quirk. It kind of authenticated his message. It showed he wasn't criticizing from a place of comfort or seeking personal gain.
Right.
But maybe the biggest aha moment, the thing that really underscores his impact, is what happened after he died.
His influence grew.
Exploded, really. He died in 1963, but his global reach, the readership of books like The Knowledge of the Holy, it just kept growing. They've never gone out of print. It suggests his message wasn't just for his time, it was prophetic, timeless.
So wrapping this up, what's the key takeaway for us now? It seems Tozer's main concern wasn't really about incorrect doctrine, per se.
No, not primarily. It was about what he called dead orthodoxy.
Knowing all the right things about God.
But lacking that living, breathing, transforming relationship with God, he kept calling people back to that fundamental idea. Low views of God inevitably produce low ways of living.
A challenging thought.
Definitely. And here's something to really chew on. Tozer saw these trends, this spiritual weakening, this trade-off, God's presence for popularity, holiness for happiness, taking root almost a century ago now.
Wow, that long ago.
Yeah. So the question for you listening right now is, looking around today, 6 decades after Tozer passed, what parts of his critique still seem visible? Where do we still see those tensions playing out? That's something worth pondering.